Beware the get-rich-quick scheme that involves goblins.
Discover there's no discounted price for haunted furniture.
Sue a cemetery for trying to take you alive.
All this and more to shock, enlighten, and captivate.
It's ripped from the headlines.
It's happening right now.
It's this week's late-breaking imbibery of Odd Tonic.
Welcome to the parlor. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Maxwell. Have a seat, dear guest. Jennifer and I are going to let you in on something fun and new. As you know, Odd Tonic gravitates to any strange topic, which often has us exploring the past.
1970s Toronto, late 1800s spiritualist movement, time slips in the Middle Ages. But the odd and unexplained are not limited to history. They happen every day.
And we would know we are weird news junkies. Just last week, we were here in the parlor discussing an article we had just read at length.
And by the end of the discussion, we realized, wow, this could have been an episode. And we thought maybe we're doing a disservice by not mentioning strange happenings that are currently taking place. So let's eliminate the FOMO, fear of missing odd.
That's right. In this episode, we've scanned the world for the hottest oddness, and it comes straight to you with Odd Tonic's special brand of presentation and analysis.
Like giggling at words like Diddington.
And spoilers, these stories are just as strange and compelling as anything off the parlor shelf. So, grab your teacup, settle in, and buckle up. My love, what can our dear guest look forward to?
Tonight, we'll join a woman who came home to a very scaly solicitor, visit a gravesite that spontaneously decided there was room for one more, and move over, crying boy. We'll discover the latest curse painting that's packing a wallop, literally.
But first, dear Jennifer and I are going to bring you in on the news story that was the inspiration for tonight's show. We're going to take a deep, mysterious dive into Zimbabwe's paranormal pest problem. Here is the article that we first read from Oddie.com.
Since last September, villagers of the Cowdray Park area of Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, have said that goblins are killing their children and livestock and destroying their crops. Worse, they had thought the goblin problem had been previously taken care of. One villager recounts, last year a cleansing ceremony was carried out when some kids mysteriously died, and we thought we would have peaceful lives. Right now, we don't know how we will be helped, because we believe these goblins can be killed, but later on come back in full force. Zimbabweans believe goblins are invisible. They are known to be stone throwers and noisemakers. Hundreds of villagers in Cowdray Park claim they were victims of goblins throwing stones at their houses. The goblin allegedly driven out by goblin hunters had been named Ernest. Ernest may have been gone, but the attacks began again a few months later. The stone throwing increased, and residents blamed a different goblin named Mike. I love it. Some claim the goblin was back for revenge. Several villagers reported randomly dead cattle from goblin attacks at night. So far, 30 cattle have been found dead in this area. I have also lost some of my own cattle. I am now seeking divine and traditional interventions to exorcise the area. Whether it's goblins or someone using juju, we are tired and we want the goblins or the person behind it to be caught. I have heard complaints that the goblins were also destroying some of the villagers' crops. One villager said, each household is currently contributing money to pay the person who will conduct the cleansing ceremony. We hope that they will do a good job and stop this terror before it gets out of hand. I think it's a little out of hand already.
Yeah.
How do you catch a goblin? Chicken helps, as goblins are believed to eat both the birds and their eggs. Beer bottles are also used, although reporters covering the ritual weren't sure why.
Oh, I think we know why.
1 for you, 1, 2, 3 for me.
To which our response was, what? What is going on in Zimbabwe? This requires more research. So we did some. And hold fast, dear guest. It only gets weirder. According to Zimbabwe Today, the word goblin is just a loose translation. In the West, a goblin is a small, malicious creature. Most people likely think of a goblin as a cross between Gollum from The Hobbit and the creature from the film Gremlins, something completely fictional. But in rural Africa, goblins are serious business. They go by many names, depending on the region and the language spoken. Most commonly, these creatures are called either Tikalosh or Zvikwambo. The trade in these creatures used to be very hush-hush, occurring only behind closed doors. But in recent years, the sale of goblins has become much more public. Many can now be found for sale in market stalls throughout Africa, and the demand for goblins is rising steadily. A goblin is created when a shaman harnesses a spirit and places it inside the body of an everyday item, or a living creature. Thus, a goblin could literally be anything. It could be a vessel made from a gourd, a snake, a frog, a turtle. The shaman can choose any vessel to house the spirit. Many of them are sold encapsulated inside glass vials, which are sealed to prevent the goblin from making magic, or mischief, before it is sold. These powerful spirits and their use is regarded by most Africans with dread. As with any powerful spirit, you engage with them at your own risk. The goblin is known to bring wealth or success, but it will almost invariably extract its revenge by bringing calamity down upon its owner. But just as desperate Americans were willing to sign up for balloon mortgages in early 2005, desperate Africans are willing to risk personal catastrophe and even goblin molestation in exchange for the slimmest hope at being able to make ends meet.
So, our next questions were probably what you're thinking now. How does this goblin thing work? What exactly do they do? And why would you want to buy one? The answers we got from sources Newsday and Bulawayo 24 are fascinating. It is generally believed that successful businesses thrive because of innovation and hard work. However, within many parts of Africa, business success is instead associated with an aversion to hard work and with the use of magic like juju or muthi. Can Zimbabwean business people prosper because of goblin vessels and charms? Can you really make money out of juju? Let's listen to some case studies. In 2016, 68-year-old Givmore Chigambaze from Gakwe said that he used goblins to acquire his wealth. Using a charmed fan adorned with beads, he calls for any money he wishes, and he receives it. I keep a fan with juju in a closed room, he said, and I get so much money to boost my businesses. Chikambaze owns 8 cars, but is no longer enjoying his riches and wishes to repent. I am in trouble with these goblins. I acquired them in Mozambique. I cannot attend any funerals regardless of my relationship with the dead. Although it doesn't go into further detail, our research revealed that goblins will often appear to their owners or their owner's family in dreams and will make threats or demands. One can surmise that the curse of owning his goblins was the inability to attend funerals of loved ones without the threat of sickness or death for Chikambese or his family. Goblin demands can come in a variety of flavors. Also in 2016, a 40-year-old Lady of the Night from Borrowdale boasted that she was making big cash from her goblins. The goblins were said to be kept in a clay pot, and when she called for any amount of money she desired, it reportedly filled her bathtub.
Wow.
And what are the goblins demanding in return? Placation comes in the form of her feeding them the consensual juices of her clients. Others have been known to pay a much higher price. In 2014, a Chipanga man took drastic measures after facing goblin demands. Police confirmed that 52-year-old Mike Thomas Anganyama complained of having a terrible time at the hands of 3 goblins he inherited from his father when he died. The goblins, he was told, were to assist him financially, socially, and spiritually. Things took a turn a year later when the goblins suddenly refused to eat the meat Mike provided and began demanding milk and human blood. That always ends well. Anganyama started facing problems when he failed to provide the human blood and milk that the goblins wanted, said Assistant Inspector Chinanda. He started to face financial problems, experiencing nightmares, and he was always fighting with his family, neighbors, and friends. Mike approached a traditional healer in the village and was told that there was no other option but to do what the goblins wanted, or he would face more problems.
Gee, thanks, traditional healer from the village.
It's up to you.
That'll be $60.
In the end, Anganyama ended his dark pact with self-administered poison.
Ooh. And that, dear guest, is only half of the problem with goblins. Their appetites go well beyond food, as we learn in this example. In January of this year, a plum tree man admitted that he had used a magic item, or muthi, to bring prosperity to his business. But, as you can guess, it didn't go as hoped. The muthi I had planted in my bedroom hut catapulted me to prosperous life, said Takara Inyoni. However, the unfortunate part is, after I started to use the muthi, my daughters informed me and their mother that something was, how do we say this, dear guest? Forcing carnal demands of them during their sleep. But I never thought it was a result of the muthi.
Oh, those randy goblins.
He apologized for his regrettable ways of amassing wealth. I would like to apologize to my daughters and family at large for this shameful chapter of life that I plunged them into. When I was given this muthi, I was not told my daughters would be affected, he said remorsefully. The muthi turned into goblins, said Madzambaba Matumwa, a celebrated prophet and healer. He and his team unearthed the strange muthi from underneath Inyoni's bedroom floor and burnt it in a cleansing ceremony. The daughters later reported that the ritual, thankfully, did the trick.
Whew.
Now, tales like these are prevalent in Zimbabwe and have been for years. In addition to countless similarly affected families, Jennifer and I found multiple stories of clinics and schools forcibly shut down due to alleged goblins and their lustful and physical abuse of nurses, teachers, and students. And it's all caused by, it is speculated, by practitioners of dark magic or clueless purchasers of goblins whose pets go wild when their demands aren't met. As if this whole thing was not bizarre enough, then you have the issue of goblin economics. Zimbabwe has a 2018 article about a successful businessman named Sekuru Chetsue. Each day, the 60-year-old wakes up at 4 a.m. and goes to nearby wetlands and swamps and collects frogs and small tortoises. He takes these to his self-described factory in a shopping center, where he gets down to the task of tying colorful beads around the animals. He adds rubber bands, horns, or chicken nails to the accessories. And hey, presto, you have yourself a, quote, goblin.
What a better use for a bedazzler.
His major clients are false prophets and self-professed witch hunters who spring these things on their clients and then claim to have discovered evil spirits, which then they proceed to exorcise, quote, often for a pound of flesh. In Bulawayo last year, 3 men were arrested for allegedly planting multicolored charms at a house, then claiming to discover them. They told the homeowner that the charms had caused the illness of a child and demanded $7,000 as payment. Sekuru Chetsui says prices of his fake goblins range from $300 to $700 US, and business is brisk.
Wow.
Although Jennifer and I didn't research our hunch, it wasn't a stretch to imagine another type of con, wherein a dark juju practitioner might secretly unleash goblins upon a village and then walk away the well-compensated hero who removed them. Could this be the root of the trouble, in the goblin-infested village within Caudray Park. In the shadier corners of Zimbabwe, it seems that truly anything is possible.
There are so many different directions you can take this when trying to understand what is going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like the Philip experiment where it seems that human consciousness and beliefs are physically manifesting the phenomena?
I think that's an excellent question. Because unlike in the West, Africa and China both have cultures that fully embrace the world of magic or superstition, spirits, and entities, which means that you have a populace of millions, well, even billions, who are consciously focusing on, and if we learned anything from the Philip experiment, amplifying a communal belief in the supernatural. I mean, think about it. If 8 people sitting around a table can manifest knocking and spontaneous locomotion, what can billions accomplish?
Another point of interest is how goblins are known for knocking and scratching on walls, removing blankets on beds, and throwing rocks, all classic poltergeist phenomenon, which paranormal researchers believe might be caused by unchecked consciousness on a rampage.
Yeah.
On the other hand, maybe it is external. Maybe these goblin owners really are making agreements, but with the kind of trickster entities we read so much about in other paranormal experiences.
Yeah, that's another excellent point.
Maybe it's a little of both, because if a conscious mind believes there will be results, maybe an external entity can take advantage of that and then move in and set up shop.
Well, good night, folks, and sweet dreams.
Somewhere in the world, we just made another 12-year-old listener revert to using the nightlight again. Sorry.
Man, everyone will require a nightlight after searching the internet for Zimbabwe goblins. Let me tell you, there are so many strange and terrifying stories.
If any of you world travelers out there have any goblin stories of your own, send them to us.
Yes.
At theparlor@oddtonicsociety.com.
Well, don't be lured away by skeezy goblins, because when we return, we'll learn how visiting your parents' grave can be more painful than you ever imagined. Meet a man whose plan to cross the Atlantic Ocean was to do absolutely nothing. And we'll buy some secondhand furniture that came with more than a residual scent of grandma.
You're listening to Odd Tonic. Linger around for a spell. We'll be right back.
Hello, dear guest. More tea? We do enjoy your visit with us.
And we hope to see you every week. Go ahead and hit subscribe so we can be expecting you. Think of it as a Parlor RSVP.
You may have heard last week that we launched an Odd Tonic Patreon.
Yay!
One of our exciting goals is the addition of video to the Odd Tonic experience.
How amazing would that be, dear guest? You could see us in the parlor doing parlor things. If your answer is very, go check out the fun rewards you can't get anywhere else and help support us at patreon.com/oddtonic.
We'll put the link in our show notes too. Thanks in advance, you beautiful devil.
Now let's return for more creepy and curious current events. Welcome back. So far, we've learned that goblins are only a stone's throw away.
No!
That we can live comfortably by bedazzling frogs. And while goat meat may be delicious, apparently nothing beats the taste of human flesh.
Oh, but dear guest, we are just getting started. Wait till you wrap your ears around the other stories we've found for you. And to kick off the second half of the show, let's discover the very worst door-to-door solicitor you'd ever want to meet.
This comes to us from ABC 11 in North Carolina. Karen Alfano, who recently moved from New Jersey to Myrtle Beach, was welcomed into the neighborhood by an unusual guest. After a day of errands, she arrived home to discover, on her porch, an alligator. Most longtime locals would be shocked at discovering a 6.5-foot gator at their door, let alone a newcomer from New Jersey. But Karen thought the whole encounter was the coolest thing that could possibly happen to anyone.
Because she was from Jersey.
Because the even more shocking twist to this is that the gator was ringing her doorbell. The ringing reptile had worked its way up the doorframe, damaging the shelves in the entranceway and leaving scratches on her siding, but didn't break the hurricane window in her door. And it stood there, leaning in and ringing her doorbell as its front claw pawed upward. Alfano recorded video as the gator climbed onto its hind legs and rang for entry, which we'll include in the show notes. The gator was later removed by a trapper. About a mile down from her house, wildlife officials also removed a 10-foot gator who showed up in a community there.
Was it attempting entry by delivering a pizza?
Officials at the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources are asking community members to not call them if the alligator is smaller than 5 feet, saying that young gators pose no threat to humans.
I love how the southern United States likes to downplay its horrors. The Carolinas also have a critter that they like to call a palmetto bug. Isn't that adorable? A palmetto bug. No! It's not adorable. A palmetto bug is their code word for cockroaches the size of Honda Civics.
Not VW bugs.
Seriously. Insects so large that you can hear them scuttling and scraping into the shadows when you flip the kitchen light on at night. Oh, God.
Well, if that story didn't creep you out, I'd love to tell you we'd be giving you a breather. But we're not. Check out this fresh horror.
According to unexplainedmysteries.com, Joanne Cullen had been visiting her parents' grave in Long Island when the ground swallowed her up. The 64-year-old, who was from North Belmore, had bent down to fix a bow on a wreath at the headstone when a sinkhole opened beneath her, causing her to sink into the ground up to her waist.
Oh, this is the stuff of nightmares.
As the hole opened, she also fell forward, hitting her head on the tombstone and cracking a tooth. She recalls crying out for help. However, there was nobody around to assist.
This is the stuff of nightmares every night for multiple lifetimes.
According to her lawyer, Cullen became a, quote, emotional wreck after the incident and now suffers from nightmares, as you do, and headaches, as well as a fear of walking through open fields.
Oh, yes.
Quote, getting sucked into your parents' grave when you go visit them on a cool December afternoon with the sun going down. It's terrifying and traumatizing, he said.
Obviously.
The St. Charles Resurrection Cemetery has since been sued for a whopping $5 million.
Wow.
It is believed that the sinkhole opened up due to an issue with how an adjacent grave was filled in.
The only thing that would have made this story worse is if it had been raining like in Poltergeist. Poor woman trying to claw her way out of the mud.
You know, speaking of ghosts, we need to share at least 1 or 2 haunting stories tonight, right? So why don't you make that happen for us, love?
UnexplainedMysteries.com reports that a thrift store in North Carolina recently posted a warning notice about a bedroom suite's haunted past.
It's haunted by palmetto bugs.
No. Habitat for Humanity Rowan County's Restore made a point to inform potential buyers that a handcrafted 2-piece bedroom suite that it was selling had a rather sinister reputation. Please note, the warning reads, previous owner reports that the high boy is haunted. He reports continuous nightmares for he and his wife while it was in their room.
Wow.
He also reports that the dogs would not stop barking at it. The warning didn't seem to do much to deter interest, however, as the store director of operations, Elizabeth Birdie, later reported that 2 regular customers had purchased the furniture for the full asking price.
We thought it would look great with this Jewish wine cabinet we just bought on eBay, said Mr. and Mrs. McDoperson.
While the notice had intrigued them, it seems they did not actually believe that the items were haunted when they decided to make their purchase. How they got on with their new acquisitions after bringing them home, however, remains unclear.
Oh, it's clear. Good luck, suckers.
Suckers!
In the meantime, BBC News tells us that a French adventurer completed his crossing of the Atlantic Ocean last month in a rather unique apparatus. Jean-Jacques Savin achieved the ambitious feat from the Canary Islands to the Caribbean in his own custom barrel. Equipped with a bunk, a kitchen, storage space, and even a porthole on the bottom for viewing fish, his unusual vessel had no means of self-propulsion and simply floated along at the whim of the tide.
Huh. Perhaps this also made him the first human message in a bottle as well. Has anyone checked on that?
Call Ripley's. The 71-year-old, 71 Jennifer, who set off on his journey from the Canary Islands on December 26, 2018, finally reached the Dutch Caribbean island of St. Eustatius after more than 4 months at sea.
I hope the barrel had a toilet. It's funny he did this right after Christmas. Did he have a really bad holiday? That's it. I'm getting in the barrel.
I'll bet you're right.
Or is it, that's it. I'm getting in the barrel.
4 months later. Savin, who is no stranger to adventure, having previously worked as a military paratrooper, had been hoping to reach his destination by March, but ultimately took over a month longer to get there. Yeah. Did they open the lid to find him eating one of his own legs? Corn on the cob style?
No.
Want some?
No.
His remarkable journey across the Atlantic saw him cover a staggering 2,930 miles.
Wow.
Everything has an end, wrote Savin. Finally, I am here at the end of this adventure. And he concluded, at the end of my sanity, while also adding, okay. For our final story, Jennifer brings us the newest obviously cursed object on the scene, and it doesn't, dear guest, disappoint.
Unexplained Mysteries and Paranormal Magazine bring us the details on this one. Lynn Cinderay started to feel unwell after viewing a painting named Sinister at a haunted objects exhibition. The former ghost tour guide had been watching a presentation of haunted items at the New Inn in Gloucester, England, when she had an unexpected reaction to one of the items. As soon as I saw the painting that they called Sinister, that was it, she recalled. I felt so ill, I was sick to my stomach. I had to go and tell someone that I did not feel right. It was so strange. The next thing I know is that I collapsed and I'm looking up at the crowd around me. The painting itself is shrouded in mystery. Sinister is a black and white painting from an unknown artist. It was commissioned for the 2018 film Finders Keepers, which was filmed in a real, abandoned, and haunted 1845 manor called Revesby Abbey. The painting, however, never made it into the film due to the crew and the director taking such an intense dislike to it that they reportedly refused to use it. The owner of Revesby Abbey didn't like the picture either and wanted it gone. It was then given to Mark Penn from Yorkshire Ghost Hunts. Mark took the picture to his home, where strange things began to happen. He reported that the crystal skull on his desk had turned completely around, and his daughter began descending into very ill health. Mark then gave the painting to Ghosts of Britain, and the group included it in the Haunted Objects exhibition in Gloucester. While recovering from her paranormal adventure, Lynn Cinderay had this to say, I have been in bed and resting since and been trying to make sense of it all. Since the Haunted Objects team acquired the painting, they have had numerous reports of paranormal activity surrounding it. It has been claimed that the picture has moved from one side of the room to another, that one person reported the images in the picture changing, and it causes people living in the house to become unwell. 2 other people at the exhibition became unwell that night too. Lynn collapsed while during a Facebook Live broadcast, the footage from which can be viewed in our show notes.
And I'm sure she'll appreciate everybody watching that.
In slow motion. Boomeranging. Yep. I wonder if our guests are going to start thinking we get kickbacks for mentioning haunted paintings. They do seem to really creep into our episodes.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe it's the artist in me that just likes the haunted art idea.
Maybe you can create a haunted painting of your own. Ever think about that?
Mm.
And channel stuff from all your darkest recesses into it.
Ooh, channel in the bad stuff and then get rid of it. That's a genius form of supernatural therapy.
Yeah, I think so. But then who might find it abandoned in their house? Okay, well, that wraps up this edition of Odd Tonic. We hope you've enjoyed this goblin-infested vessel of odd news from around the world.
Do you think it's part of human nature to think that most of the weird stuff is buried far away in the past?
Oh, maybe. I mean, people usually expect to wake up to a normal day.
And then the weird comes and rings your doorbell.
Stay vigilant, dear guest. That might not really be the pizza man.
If you're one to seek out your odd, come find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Odd Tonic Society.
And our new Facebook group consists of over 1,000 oddlings now, doesn't it?
Yes, it's fantastic. We've only had it a week or two now, and I've met so many cool new folks. We'll be online until we're back in your ears next week with more bizarre history, strange science, and metaphysical mysteries.
This is, dear guest, goodbye for now. But remember, if one evening you hear a lumbering toward your front porch and a scraping and a scratching up to the welcome mat as a pair of sinister shadows darken your door and ring the doorbell incessantly, relentlessly, don't worry.
It's just us.
Good night.